Pirates of the Mystic Cave brings us something a bit different in the form of some completely original characters. In this story we're introduced to Captain Plunder and his group of sky pirates who search the globe in order to steal all manner of riches. Some of the more notable members of this crew include Captain Plunder himself, Filch, the ghost of a man who was killed by Plunder, and in later issues we also see a strange character known as Simpson the Cat, who seems like an over-the-top slapstick cartoon character come to life. The story starts off with Sonic and the other freedom fighters searching through the Mystic Cave in the hopes of finding Amy, who has been kidnapped once again. And it's at this point that I feel the need to point out that despite the events of these next few stories where Amy repeatedly gets kidnapped, she does turn out to be a lot more than a simple damsel in distress as the comic goes on. I'd even go as far as to say that she may actually have the most character development out of everyone. She starts off as the helpless girl who constantly needs to be rescued, but after a while she ends up going on her own adventures, saving the rest of the team, coming up with some of the plans which lead to the team's victory, and generally turns into a strong independent character. But anyway, back to the story. As the team are making their way deeper into the cave, they're suddenly attacked by a group of Kroltron badniks. Though Sonic and the others make quick work of them, smashing them apart, but they surprisingly don't find any captive animals trapped inside like they usually do. When all the badniks have been taken care of, they reveal that Amy was captured as she tried to protect Tails from a group of pirates. Though this is where I feel that we've missed out on something. We've basically been dropped into the middle of a story. I know there's only a 7-page limit for the first comic strip, but I feel this should have been a 2-parter, with the first detailing with what happened to get Amy captured, and it could have made an exciting story. But now, however, as the group continues on, a hidden door suddenly slams shut behind Sonic, with only Tails fast enough to zip through, leaving everyone else trapped on the other side. Sonic and Tails continue the rest of the journey alone. Eventually they reach a forked path and have no idea which way to go, but Sonic makes the decision to take the left path, and the two start making their way down it. They quickly stop as they are greeted by a bunch of flasher badniks, fully charged and ready to zap any intruders. Sonic and Tails quickly turn and run, but the badniks follow close behind. More badniks join in and soon swarm around the two. With no more room to escape, the flashers unleash their electricity, zapping the two until they pass out. When they wake up sometime later, they are immediately greeted by the pirate captain, who introduces himself as Captain Plunder, leader of the Mystic Cave Pirates, and Amy can be seen a short distance behind him, trapped in a cage. Plunder demands something from Sonic, and if he doesn't cooperate, Tails will be walking the plank. Sonic agrees to hear him out, and the pirate captain says he's looking for the most precious gems on the planet, the Chaos Emeralds. Sonic refuses to cooperate, saying he will make sure that Robotnik never gets his hands on the emerald. But true to his word, Plunder kicks Tails off the edge of the plank, sending him falling to the icy water below. But as he does so, he also reveals that he is not working for Robotnik, that he stole the badniks he was using for his own purposes. Luckily, it seems that Plunder didn't know that Tails could fly as he quickly soars back up to safety. Sonic uses the distraction to attack the pirate, starting with a spin attack against Filch. But since Filch is a ghost, Sonic ends up passing straight through him, causing no damage at all. So Sonic aims his next attack at Plunder himself, spinning straight into him. However, Plunder is strong enough to endure the attack and strike back. The fight continues while Amy from across the room calls out for the violence to stop. She suggests that they join forces, as they all have their issues with Robotnik. She points out that the freedom fighters have knowledge of Robotnik's operations and could tell the pirates which transports are worth robbing, and in return the pirates could help the freedom fighters whenever they need assistance. Plunder agrees to listen, and after a lot of negotiating, both sides reach an agreement. The pirates let Sonic, Tails and Amy go, exclaiming that with this deal they stand to make a fortune. But as soon as the freedom fighters have left the cave, Plunder reveals that he already has a fortune, and now he has come up with a plan which will also allow him to steal the Chaos Emeralds. When we reach a story called the Sonic Terminator, the first thing we see is that Sonic is in a tight spot. He's currently in the middle of a rough battle against a yet unknown opponent. His adversary speeds through, slamming into him and knocking him to the ground. Sonic tries to get to his feet, but before he can do so, he is hit with a massive electric current. Once Sonic has been defeated, Grimer steps in and orders the enemy to stand down. But when we next see our hero, it turns out he was a robot all along. This entire battle was simply a simulation designed to test the power of the newest and strongest Badnik yet. Robotnik looks over the scene, pleased with the results, and now he is satisfied he can put his latest plan into action and defeat the real Sonic once and for all. The scene shifts to the Emerald Hill Zone, where troopers are rounding up and arresting citizens. Sonic and the Freedom Fighters look on at the situation. Porker notes that it looks like this whole village is being taken away to increase Badnik production. Sonic can't stand around and look on, so instead he charges into action and tries to save the village. He immediately plows through a trooper, smashing it to pieces. The others follow soon after, noting that there's little choice now that Sonic has given them away. The troopers gain the upper hand and surround them all. With no other choice, the Freedom Fighters surrender and are taken away. Though it's obvious to the reader from the way Sonic is acting that he let himself get captured for one reason or another. Once on board the transport ship, they are greeted by a large boar-like creature who appears to be leading the troopers. He gloats about capturing Sonic and his friends and taunts them with the threat of being turned into badniks. Sonic claims he is still going to rescue the prisoners, and soon enough the next part of his plan is revealed as Captain Plunder's skyship appears behind the trooper ship. Plunder's crew jumps into action and storms the enemy ship. They and the Freedom Fighters begin fighting the troopers, and with this extra manpower they are soon victorious. The troopers are destroyed and their leader is captured. Porker and Filch congratulate each other and engage in a little small talk about how their deal is paying off, and how this whole affair started off with Plunder trying to get the Chaos Emeralds. This, however, is where Porker makes a serious mistake. He lets it slip that the Chaos Emeralds are hidden safely away in North Cave, but Porker realises what he said too late as Filch dashes off to reveal the secret to Captain Plunder. As soon as the pirates all find this out, they hop back on their skyship and speed away towards the Emeralds. Porker immediately goes to Sonic, who is wondering what the big hurry is, and comes clean about what happened, that Plunder is now heading towards the Chaos Emeralds and needs to be stopped before he can get his hands on them. When we next see Plunder, he has already reached the North Cave. He and his pirates are having a good laugh at how easily Porker let the secret slip. He orders his men to spread out and search for the emeralds, offering a reward of a flagon of rum to whoever finds them. When he next turns around, however, it turns out that Sonic and his crew have already reached the island before them and are standing in wait ready to defend their position and stop the emeralds from falling into the wrong hands. Plunder, as determined as ever, orders his men to attack. They immediately charge in, but Sonic uses his spin attack on the stalactites above them, causing them to fall around the enemy and pin them in place as if they were the bars of a cage. Amy and Tails take care of the remaining pirates, Amy using her signature weapon in this comic, the crossbow, and Tails resorts to throwing rocks. In all the chaos, Plunder is eventually able to grab Tails and take him hostage. With his friend's life in danger, Sonic has no other choice but to reveal the emerald's location. He directs everyone to a nearby area where the emeralds are waiting, floating in a small pool. The pirates waste no time in grabbing the emeralds, and before they know it, they are speeding away once again. Sonic and Tails rush after them in the biplane, but it takes some time to catch up to Plunder's ship. They come in low, hoping that Plunder's crew doesn't spot them. Once they are close enough, Sonic jumps up and grabs the rope on Plunder's ship, though Tails gives Sonic a warning that he should be careful, because there's no telling what the evil energy from the emeralds may have done to them. When Sonic pulls himself up and peers over the side of the ship, he is greeted by quite a shocking sight. The entire crew, including Plunder himself, have all been turned into a bunch of peace-loving hippies who are merrily dancing and partying on the deck. Sonic walks right up to Plunder and demands that he gives the emeralds back. Plunder, surprisingly enough, agrees without argument, saying that all property is basically theft, so he happily gives the emeralds back to Sonic, who quickly returns to the biplane to a curious Tails. Tails still thinks the crew must have been turned into some sort of evil creatures, but Sonic reminds him that the Chaos Emeralds don't radiate evil energy, they absorb it. With their mission complete, they fly away to find a new hiding spot for the emeralds. The story isn't over yet, however, as back in the Emerald Hill Zone the peace is suddenly disturbed as a huge laser destroys a home. The locals look to the sky to find where it came from, only to find a shadowy figure floating above. As the figure comes closer, we see that Robotnik's most dangerous badnik yet is all ready for action, revealing itself to be the robotic version of Sonic known as Metallix. I guess no one thought to tell Sonic and the others about the killer robot destroying a village. as the next thing we see are the freedom fighters relaxing in their secret base, tinkering with their machinery and playing what appears to be a reference to the Mario Brothers. Johnny picks up a transmission from someone trying to get in contact, and when they answer, Amy appears on the screen asking for help. She tells the team to come to Never Lake, but the video is suddenly cut off by Metallix as he destroys her communicator. That's right, Amy has been kidnapped yet again. When Johnny turns to address the others, it turns out that Sonic has already sped on ahead, leaving a note for the others. It would seem that there's no star post at Never Lake, so the fastest option will be for Sonic to run on ahead. When he gets there, he is greeted with an unusual sight. The Miracle Planet, which appears in the sky once per month, has been transformed from a beautiful green and blue planet into a mess of metal and fire. Sonic searches the area and soon finds Amy trapped on a huge pillar with no way down. He manages to carve a set of steps around the sides of the pillar using his super speed, but before the two can make their way down, Sonic asks what the heck is going on with the Miracle Planet, saying that it looks different somehow. Yes, different somehow. It should be easy to tell the difference when it changes from this to this. But as the two look up at the planet, Amy tells Sonic that Robotnik is going to turn the whole planet into a new base. Though, personally, I think this is actually quite a stupid idea. If Robotnik used it as a base, he could only launch attacks at one specific time every month, while the rest of the time the base would vanish into another dimension. Sure, Sonic wouldn't be able to stop him while he's away from Mobius, allowing him to create more death machines, but it would also give everyone on Mobius plenty of time to prepare and recover while he's away. But back to the story, Sonic asks how Amy got up onto the pillar, but before she can respond, Metallix appears, saying that he placed Amy on there. Metallix tosses a boulder at Sonic, who easily avoids it, but Metallix simply tries again and again. He tosses boulder after boulder towards Sonic until it looks like he tosses one too large to dodge. Instead, Sonic spin dashes through it, catching Metallix off guard and bashing directly into him. The two continue their fight as Amy watches on from a distance. Both of them take the battle to faster and faster speeds until they both move too fast for Amy to follow. Eventually, the battle comes to a stop, and through the dust a figure makes its way towards Amy. She assumes that Sonic must have won, but quickly finds out that she was wrong as Metallix charges in her direction. Before it can grab her, however, the damage from the battle catches up with it, causing the robot to fail and fall to the ground. Luckily, Sonic is the next to emerge from the dust, dizzy and bruised from the battle. Everything seems like it will be okay, when suddenly, Metallix recovers and catches Sonic off guard. He bashes Sonic over the head and uses the time to recover to grab Amy and kidnap her. Again. Sonic gets up just in time to see Metallix taking her up the chain linking the Miracle Planet and Mobius, and wastes no time in chasing after them. Sometime later, Porker, Johnny and Tails arrive at the scene to help, but they find that Sonic and Amy are nowhere in sight. However, they are just in time to see the transformed Miracle Planet, which vanishes into whatever alternate dimension it came from. This, of course, means that Sonic is now completely separated from the others, stranded on the small planet with no way for the others to follow. Now on the Miracle Planet, Sonic is able to get a good view of his surroundings. Everything has been turned into some sort of machine, pumping out toxic fumes and huge plumes of fire. Suddenly, Amy appears and starts running towards him, happy to see that her love interest followed to try and save her. When Sonic asks where Metallix ran off to, even Amy is unsure, and guesses he must have been more badly damaged than originally thought. Of course they're not so lucky, as Metallix somehow phases through the metal wall behind them, planning a sneak attack. He takes aim and fires on them both, just narrowly missing them. I guess he's just a really bad shot when it comes to perfectly still targets. Metallix taunts Sonic about how he was created for the sole purpose of killing him and will stop at nothing to accomplish that goal. Sonic's response is to simply run away, leaving a shocked Amy to fend for herself against the killer robot. Since Metallix has no further use for Amy, he plans to kill her first. He charges up his chest laser and is just about to fire when suddenly Sonic returns and smashes into the robot from the back with a spin attack. It turns out that Sonic ran around the entire planet just so he could hit Metallix with a sneak attack of his own. Metallix isn't down yet, so Sonic tries to spin attack once again, but the robot puts up an electric shield which easily deflects it. The two continue their fight. Eventually Sonic makes a mistake, tripping up on one of the loose wires littering the ground. Metallix is about to deal the finishing blow when suddenly something else smashes into him, sending him flying. Sonic and Amy wonder what happened. They look around at whatever attacked the robot and find that it's a tiny version of Sonic. This new version of Sonic announces that he is from the future, and that he doesn't have much time to explain as Metallix will be back up and running at any moment. He tells his past self to jump into a nearby laser beam. Bert, of course the present version of Sonic, is completely confused about what's going on and why his future self is so small. Future Sonic just pushes his past self into the beam, which instantly shrinks him down. Then begins his rushed explanation of what happens next. It turns out that he is holding something called a time stone. He needs to give it to his past self so he can travel to the past and stop what's happening to the planet. Present Sonic takes the time stone and is about to get to work when a shadow is cast over them. Metallix has recovered and now looms over them, his laser fully charged and ready to fire. Future Sonic tells his past self to run, while he takes care of Metallix, but he will figure out what he needs to do as he goes along. The present version of Sonic speeds off, just as confused as before. But before long the time stone starts to glow. It sparks and starts pulling Sonic backwards through time. Soon enough Sonic exits the time stream and finds himself back on the Miracle Planet before it was taken over by Robotnik's machines. However, for some reason, the time stone has vanished. Sonic has no idea what to do next, but soon comes across the source of all of his problems. A machine which is steadily transforming the planet into the hellscape he saw in the future. It's now that Sonic figures out why he had to be shrunk. It was the only way he could destroy the machine by going inside it and removing the power source. He searches around and eventually finds what's powering the machine, the time stone. He pulls the stone away and destroys the machine from the inside. With the threat to the future now gone, he speeds off again, letting the time stone work its magic as it warps Sonic back to the future, back to the point just before he left. He arrives just in time to see Metallix swooping over his past self, getting ready to blast him. Sonic rushes in and spin attacks Metallix, sending him flying. I don't think I really need to go over what happens next in much detail, as it's an exact reprint of the last few pages. Sonic shrinks past Sonic down, gives him the time stone, gives a rushed explanation, past Sonic rushes off to fix things. Wibbly wobbly timey wimey stuff. The version of Sonic who is left to face Metallix, however, is confused about why time hasn't fixed itself. After all, he destroyed the machine in the past which transformed the planet. But as Metallix tries to blast Sonic, he misses and hits the ground, which is slowly changing back to its original green, grassy form. All Sonic has to do is continue to avoid Metallix's attacks as time slowly fixes itself. The machinery vanishes, grass, trees, flowers, oceans all return to their original forms. With the shrinking machine erased from history, Sonic returns to his normal size, and for some reason, Metallix disappears too, with Sonic stating that this caused the robot to never be built in the first place. Although, as we've seen in previous comic strips, he was built. In fact, he was built separately to the machine which changed the Miracle Planet. The main purpose of changing the planet was to be a base for Robotnik and a power source which could sustain Metallix. So shouldn't Metallix still be there? Wibbly wobbly timey wimey stuff, I guess. But anyway, with the threat now gone and the planet restored to normal, the realization hits Sonic and Amy that they are now stranded there for an entire month until the planet reappears over Mobius. Amy doesn't mind, however, as she sees this as a chance for she and Sonic to spend some quality time together.